paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And
I
yes,
don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brainstorm Brewery, and welcome to Commander 2.0.
I forgot a beer.
We had to start recording because we just couldn't. Today has been a day.
It's an emergency podcast.
Yeah. So where should we start? Let's start at the beginning. There was a rules committee announcement today. The rules committee, of course, being, the group that controls the Commander band. Here we go. Dockside Extortionist is banned. Jeweled Lotus is banned. Mana Crypt is banned. Nadu Winged Wisdom is banned.
Happy April Fool's Day. I literally could not believe it was real.
I
Why
stared
are
at
they-
my monitor. I
Listen,
stared at my monitor for a good 20 minutes. Just
Yeah. Why
I thought
are
it was
these
fully
things-
a hacked website.
Why are these things banned? This is what they say. They say the philosophy commander prioritizes creativity. One of the ways we have historically reflected that in the rules and ban lists is to encourage a slower pace of the game than traditional formats. This is the format where they've refused to ban Soul Ring forever. All right. Anyway, basically all of these explanations, which are I'm calling them a paragraph is generous. Literally 2 sentences for each of these. And they say they make a lot of mana. And then they get to Nadu. This is clearly a CDH. They say that given that Nadu has been ejected from multiple formats, we looked at it and Lightning Greaves exists, and that might make players go slow. So Nadu, Winged Wisdom, you should play these Acorn cards or whatever. You should play this Silver Border. We're going to do this kind of crap in Commander, but Lightning Greaves exists, so we're going to ban Nadu. Okay, no, that's a CDH ban. That was
I don't care about that.
yeah, but that's the point. It's all of this. I'm just trying to lay it all out
The
there.
tone of the article
yeah.
was so laid back for what it was.
Exactly.
This should have
They
been
have
like a somber acknowledgement, like they're changing what they are doing. Like they're changing a philosophy.
Commander
It
2.0.
It is. I read it and I fully thought, like, based on the tone of the article and also the audacity of the decision, I fully thought someone had hacked like the Commander Rules Committee website and Twitter or something.
Yeah.
Like this was just like a really big
This-
long con. And then the
this
WotC
reads like-
page went up.
The 4th or 5th thing you're supposed to read about it, right?
Yes.
This does not read like the document announcing it. It reads like the document like, well, now that you've had 2 weeks to throw Molotov cocktails through the windows at your LGS because they wouldn't buy your Jeweled Lotus today. Now that you've had some time to calm down a little bit, here's why we did this baffling... We did.
this is a
reads
fireside
like the
chat. Like,
They
This
should
is
have
like
had.
the IGN article.
It should have had it should have been full court press. They should have had the weekly MTG stream discussing it with the rules committee. They should have been doing streams. They should have had massive explanations. Anything.
They
Absolutely.
farted
anything.
this out like it was a letter apologizing for using AI art.
Yeah, they have no idea. Like, it's insane to me that they just didn't know what was
Space
coming.
Godzilla
Like,
Death Corona was a bigger to do than this.
yeah.
yeah.
By like a lot.
Like, and it really raises a lot of questions. Are they that disconnected from reality?
Well,
Like,
okay,
that's the
so
first
like,
question.
so
The
clearly
marketing team was
WotC.
blindsided.
So the WotC arm, right? Like they didn't do anything, but it's like the Commander Rules Committee
The rules committee.
with their combined 200,000 Twitter followers, or the same 50,000 people. They use their. They put it on Twitter, which is how you make an announcement to the people they think matter. So
If you're somebody who doesn't know what's going on, of course, the rules committee is made up of people who played Commander with Sheldon back in the day, and they have created the format back in the day, this group of people, and as a result, when it became a real format, when Wizards started supporting it, Wizards didn't want to take it out of the community, so they left the rules committee in charge of the banning and everything. And as Commander continued to blow up and as CDH grew, it's only caused more and more stress. And in the past, historically, the rules committee, what they've done is they've just sat back. I think they banned maybe 1 or 2 cards that were just like egregious 9 mana, whatever things. And they banned Paradox Engine or whatever, just ridiculous. And then everyone was kind of fine with that,
yeah,
right?
it was like 1 card a year was
Yeah.
up,
If-
and then
if
everybody
that,
knew
yeah.
it had to go.
Yeah, and then they just did nothing for years, despite people begging them to address CDH or all these different things, and they just say no, we're not doing any of
Unbanned
that.
coalition victory for fuck's
Yeah.
sake.
We get the whole CDH rules committee drama as what comes about as them refusing to take ownership, and then we get this today, and that's where things stand. Is now that it's Commander 2.0, and I don't know why they didn't see this coming. That's what I don't get.
Do you mean the backlash? Like why they didn't see the backlash?
How can anyone, anywhere, any media professional, and guess what? The people on the rules committee, they know how to use social media to make money for their projects. They know what they're doing, which means they didn't really want any of the smoke either, right? Like this isn't an accident that the article got put out like this. They're making the changes they want made, but no one wants to they don't want any of the smoke by getting streamed. That's why they're not on stream taking responsibility for it. They just put out an article, and I don't
just
mean that
farted
in
this
a
out
way. Who wants
like
that?
they were leaving an elevator.
I mean, these are people who started playing a game 10 years ago, and now they're in charge of $1 billion industry. That's not fair to them either.
It's
So,
it's
the
like,
thing about
it's
this
like
is-
how it feels to be a woman and men are always talking over you.
Go ahead, Cass.
It's
Jason,
sort of unfairness.
I want you to know that like once a week, one of the regulars in my shop comes up to me and says like, the way you look when Jason talks over you, I think you're gonna kill him someday.
I
And
know
they're
it's
right.
It's
so
my-
funny.
It's so funny.
You're
It's
so
not,
far
man.
from me geographically that
I'm going to be in Milwaukee in October. Is that closer to you?
I'm going to be in Baltimore this weekend.
Sure.
But is that close to you?
Everybody, Brainstorm Brewery Bloodsport match.
Eh,
No.
Lowland Gorilla
thing is-
versus other Lowland Gorilla.
If someone in a company that I was managing did something like this, I would fire them. But the problem with the rules committee is they are an unlawfully elected board of people. They are. This is monarchy.
That was my point. This unelected board. They have this control over our lives.
This is wizard rectangle fascism.
This is commander taxation without commander representation.
okay, so let's talk on a larger level here, right? We've got out the anger and the raging, maybe a little bit.
Oh, I got so much anger in me still. You have no
I have so
idea.
many points to make.
I'm so mad.
Let's start addressing them. I'm going to start with this Patrick Sullivan tweet that I think very succinctly defines, I think, a lot of it. He says, probably gameplay net positive, but brutal to ban 3 cards that probably represent some of the most expensive cards owned by a sizable minority of the player base, all of which have been either designed or leveraged by WotC to monetize the format.
Yes.
So what that is saying is, like, Jeweled Lotus was printed for Commander.
By Sheldon. Sheldon went to Wizards to consult on that set.
So banning it now, you can't, like, it's a philosophy change, right? That's what it comes down to, is like, that's why people are upset. So Ritzik Studies replied to Patrick Sullivan's tweet with, I couldn't believe it when they printed Jeweled Lotus, and yet I also can't believe it when they banned it. And the reply is, it's an outrageous betrayal of trust, no analog to it in all of Magic's history. And I think that exchange really cuts to the core. The Commander banless philosophy has, it's what it always was from the moment they created the format in a hotel room. And Mana Crypt was part of that philosophy, right?
I straight forgot Jeweled Lotus was a fucking card because it hasn't been played against me. I forgot about it so much I forgot to sell mine.
Well, they printed it into Commander Masters.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's been in the format. Jason isn't even worried about it. Like, it's not a problem.
It is the box
I don't see
art
it.
of packs. It is on the box of the packs.
Notably, Jeweled Lotus was in the most recent Magic release, even more recent than Duskmourn. In Festival in a Box, you got a Commander Masters collector pack, and someone today was opening his Festival in a Box and got 2 Jeweled Lotuses.
You got Commander Masters and LCI, Lost Caverns.
That's right.
Salon is
and
the
the Mana
collector booster.
$1,000 Mana Crypt. Yeah. Like,
So they lost 2 cards that they can use to sell boxes. You could have banned something that makes a lot of mana that's on the reserve list. You picked 2 non-reserve list cards that are not legal in any other formats. Sorry. Mana Crypt is a one of in Vintage.
Yeah,
Corbin,
I mean,
you called Mana Crypt $1,000 card. It's not anymore. that mana crypt is not $1,000 anymore, but I will let you rule zero it to be $1,000 if you want it to be.
Yeah, I like that. That'd be great. So I think like what this gets to though is that if the power, like Commander has not always been driven by power level, and so they printed Jeweled Lotus into a Commander set with the philosophy. So everyone takes that as not even tacit approval, but literally direction that this is it, right? This is in the spirit of the format, just like Mana Crypt, which has been legal for 20 years, and Soul Ring and all this stuff.
You can't have one body doing printing and another body determining legality.
Well, and it all comes down to they literally changed the philosophy of Commander. And here's the thing. I love it where we ended up. My group has banned those exact cards outside of Dockside for years.
I know if I were on a Commander podcast right now, I'd be celebrating, but I'm not.
Right.
So,
But how we got here is going to tear apart I'm already seeing there's a change.org petition to split up the CDH rules.
That's very funny. That is very
it
funny.
is. It is.
That's a really good bit.
It is.
I've wanted. Listen, if we can't have Sheldon stop them from doing this, we can't have Sheldon stopping them from making CEDH its own format either. Let them off.
That CDH is not the problem. CDH is just as victimized as everyone else here.
Yeah.
To Jason's point, so like if this was a Commander podcast, he'd be celebrating. Sure, that's fine. There's like a non-zero chance this causes some number of LGSs around the country to close down. Because let's say, for example, you're the kind of person who was super pumped to buy a $300 booster box with 4 packs in it of Commander Masters last year.
Oh,
because that was about what they were going
me
for.
And Corbin, didn't you do that too?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people did it. You'd be surprised. A lot of stores struggled to sell it, but like my store in my area, we sold through our Commander Masters. People were excited about it. People were opening Jeweled Lotuses and were super pumped. And if you have your Jeweled Lotus from that, and you paid $300 for that box, are you ever going to pay $250 for a collector box again? Are you ever going to pay $20 for a collector pack? You're going to pay $150 for a play box or whatever they cost.
You're going to pay $8 for a pack of Sharpies.
You're going to prox.
And the thing about it is also like, as a store, we pay the same amount, if not more, for product every year. Our cost doesn't go down, which means we have to keep charging players a high number. And if players, like, the strongest warrior on the entire battlefield of owning Magic cards to play with is good was Brian Koval. And he made a post today where he said, like, we're the proxy everything people write all along. And to me, that is truly a sign that they messed up in a way that is irreparable.
Damning.
Yeah,
like Brian Koval owns like multiple sets of power and multiple sets of duels, I believe. Like he loves owning Magic cards because like having them is cool, and knowing that he has them and he can sell them if he really needs to later is important. Like no one would own Magic cards if they couldn't.
Mark my words.
It feels like a betrayal for sure.
Yeah, and as crazy as this is today, mark my words. In a week, it's going to be insane. It is going to be insane what they let out of the bag here because they just couldn't take ownership. They didn't take ownership of Commander in general for the past few years, doing anything people wanted. They didn't take ownership of CDH. They just did kind of the bare minimum bans, which was fine when you're letting people rule zero. But now they're taking ownership by making all these bans, but can't even take ownership of the announcement to say, this is why we are fundamentally doing this. And that's why I think it's caused so many reactions from everywhere, because it blindsided everyone. And that goes back to the idea that they've been talking to Wizards about this for a year, apparently. Well, we had those really expensive mana crypts. We had those all of this. Like, what are we doing?
So Wizards knew they had those products in the pipeline all along.
Yeah, I saw on Wizards' Twitter page, their X page, the date for when they previewed the LCI Mana Crypt was a year ago within a day. It was September 22nd last year. Or 24th.
That's insane.
Yup.
Do you think like it got spoiled and the Commander Rules Committee was like, hey, WotC, we're thinking about doing this?
No, because they've been working with them on every set. That's how we got Nadu. They said, this card is too broken for Commander. We need to ruin Modern, and it's going to end up banned in Commander anyway.
Nadu is objectively one of the funniest cards in Magic now, though.
Yeah. Okay, maybe Nadu's another Jeweled Lotus. I just don't see it.
No, Nadu's a CDH ban because it's a tournament logistics ban. It's combo turn takes forever. But guess what?
I don't care.
But they don't ban for CDH, right?
But Nadu's also just miserable in casual play. It's also just miserable for casual play.
But that's
also,
what Rule Zero is.
The thing about Nadu,
there's a lot of cards
my favorite. Naughty's my favorite kind of Magic card, where it's too good for Modern, not fun for EDH, and just good enough in Legacy to make the format a little bit worse. It's like
Naughty
is
was
the
3
worst of
sets
all
ago in
worlds.
EDH. No one plays it anymore because it was so many sets ago. Like Naughty was an old card in EDH.
It's objectively not.
We
a
got
problem.
Duskborn. You replayed a card. We got Duskborn decks, and you're playing MH3. Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
The opposite of old school.
Naughty
Only
was
cards printed in the last 7 days.
it's such an old card. Nobody even plays it in EDH anymore. Naughty was like obsolete.
Well, it's just so rough because if they had rolled this out in a different way, they could have had me 100% on board.
There's so many ways to do this.
Yeah.
Like staggering them. You could say Dockside today. These are on a watch list now over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
It
let
would
people
have
hedge their own bets.
undermined the confidence, maybe a little.
I get that. I get that.
I guess,
yeah.
but we would have maybe known the scope, and the scope was 1 card every 6 months or 1 card every year.
You let people hedge their own bets of like
Anything
Exactly.
over $50 that's
Exactly.
not on the reserve list becomes not radioactive. Like
But that's
radioactive in the way where you don't know it's radioactive, like a banana, right?
like a Stoneforge.
It'll get you, but it's not like the devil's core. Right, it's like a banana. It's a little bit radioactive, and then you have some time to be like, oh, they did this to Jeweled Lotus? Well, I don't feel great about Dockside anymore.
Yeah.
Teacher, I have a chemistry question.
Sure.
If you have like 1 million bananas in a room, is that like a dangerous amount of radiation?
No, it is 1,000th. A room full of bananas is probably 1,000th the amount of radioactivity as 1 dental X-ray.
Okay, but how many bananas would you need to represent 1 atom bomb? Can we napkin math that?
Well, yeah, but like I just need to. It's real easy napkin math because it's just like how many zeros. It's 1 times
I would
10
like
to
to
the
know how many
power of
zeros.
X.
Is
I
that
don't
my
know what the
homework?
X is. It's probably 7 or 8.
I'll do the homework and we'll report back next episode. Continue.
Probably 100 million bananas. Are you how much? Like radio potassium though. Those
That'll get
radioactive
you.
potassium. That's not that bad, you know.
It's a lot of rad counters.
It's the
It's a lot of rad counters.
Yeah, how many rads you get from a banana?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. It's like
All right.
dirty banana bread in Fallout. That's even it's more radder than normal because you got like you eat food in Fallout and get rads, but also the bananas contain microcuries worth of. Can you believe that they named an amount of radiation poisoning after the curies? It's like on a scale from 1 to people need to look at your notebooks in a lead-lined case.
On a scale
You,
from 1 to
you're
DJ,
a
how many Greater Cryptic commands do you own?
If every cryptic
scale
command
of 1 to
were a
DJ.
banana, how much testicular cancer would you get?
I mean, I am certainly happy to topic swap this to this collection buy that came in the day. That if we're pivoting,
I'm glad
to,
those aren't jeweled lotuses. You beating the world's biggest dick right now, and that would be kind of funny, but also kind of sad.
For those who are not watching on YouTube, which you shouldn't, we're not that good to look at.
You should. We listen. People think that our show is unpopular because our YouTube viewership is very low relative to the amount of downloads. We know how many people enjoy this podcast, and we know that it is like 1% of you are enjoying on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Finger blast the bell icon.
If you're the 99% of listeners who are listening on not YouTube, DJ just held up around 17 foil-graded cryptic commands. I believe the quote was the entire population on CGC.
Correct, yes. Lorwyn Cryptic Command specifically. I can't speak for MM15 or
Well,
Texas
why don't
Pro.
you get buying?
I'm going to go grade 1 Lorwyn foil cryptic command. Just
So
so
this
you don't have the
psycho
whole
said it's his
population.
favorite card, but he sold them all to you for
can't
pennies
just-
on the dollar?
Cass, you can't just make up new Millennium items. You can't just invent a Dragon Ball, okay? That's not okay.
So what? If you want to own the whole population of them, bidding starts at $1 million. Talk me down. What's up? Should we wait for Corbin?
you were that. No, we'll vamp. You
No,
were that
that's fine.
cutthroat when it came to those Chinese arcade fighting robots that you quoted me like 30K, and I was like, my buddy don't have 30K up on him, and he doesn't know what they are. And he watched the Chinese season of BattleBots. He
Okay,
learned a little
so-
bit of Chinese to understand what's going on. So like, if he
From what I
hasn't heard of them,
understand, they're not actually fighting robots. The term combat capable is a marketing term. They're basically just robots that go on like rails and they bump. It's just bumper cars that look like robots apparently.
Oh, sick.
But they can get up to like 35, 40 miles an hour, which is
So
objectively very dangerous and funny.
Both go-karts are going at 35 miles an hour when they hit each other?
Yeah, in a perfect world.
Well, it's an elastic collision, so that's not as bad, but it's still gonna.
This is a really informative episode of Brainstorm Brewery.
Well, it's what the mass and velocity times the mass and velocity of the other one, but it's an inelastic collision, so I don't remember. Dude.
Listeners, this will be on the
high
exam.
high school physics was 25 years ago. I don't know.
I don't know any of that.
Wasn't 25. Oh, it's close to 25.
28.
No, like 23. Shut up. I was a senior 21 years ago.
And about 25 years ago, Magic was dealing with its first big debacle in losing consumer trust in the form of
the
Chronicles.
8th edition. Oh, Chronicles. That was 97.
It's about 25 years ago. It's like 28 ish.
Yeah.
I was close. But anyways, this is like, there's been like a couple of events in Magic's history that I would consider to be like sort of the milestone mistakes. And you got like Chronicles, the Reserve List, Magic 30th edition, and this. I think this is like
8th
on the
edition
same tier as them,
borders.
if not higher.
People don't remember how many people were furious with 8th edition borders and said they were going to quit.
Is that
Artifacts
Black
out brown no more. Yes.
Actually, I didn't know any. I wasn't around then. I agree with Cass, though. This is a milestone moment. Like, this is so. I've never.
And it's
seen
not
this.
even a Wizards decision.
I know.
It was not even.
Yeah.
923, never forget.
It's blown up every chat I'm in, every Discord chat, every random group. No one, and we're recording this less than like what 4 or 5 hours after the announcement came out. Like, by the time this episode drops, like, oh, it's going
The
to be
world will be on
insane.
fire.
None of this needed to happen, you guys.
I know. You guys wanted a podcast. I wanted to go to the LGS and try to sell them all of my jeweled lotuses.
I feel so smart right now. I own 0 jeweled lotuses, 0 dockside extortionists, 0 mana crypts, and only 1 Nadu. You know why?
Good for you.
'Cause I don't know Magic cards
you don't
anymore,
play.
personally.
Oh,
Do you know why I don't own Magic cards anymore, personally? It's because of shit like this.
Yeah, well, I've got a bunch.
Oh,
of
this
expensive dock sides that aren't
unprecedented event is why I don't have cards.
Well,
This
I'm
thing
not-
that has
super
never
confident,
happened
personally.
before is the exact reason. It validates my behavior for the past 5 years is what it does.
Well, we talked about consumer confidence going back to Chronicles. Literally, it's all we talk about on this show, right? Is how much.
Well, can we also talk about how the reserve list is the only reason we still have a f***ing trading card game and we're not Wyvern?
Right, like, not all of these events are the same scale as each other, right? Like, Magic 30th edition was nothing. Like, nothing came of that. Nothing matters about that.
Yeah.
But, in terms of, like, consumer outrage, like, I still hear dipshits saying that it's ruined Magic, despite them never having seen, touched, or even, like, thought about those cards other than being angry about irrational fake objects to them.
Well, that, and
I
that
keep
hit
forgetting
right in
about-
the pandemic, too.
Oh, man. I hadn't thought about those in like a year until somebody posted in the finance subreddit that somebody bought a counterfeit one. And I was like, you bought a fake proxy?
They're also the easiest cards to counterfeit because nobody's actually held or seen them
Yeah,
before.
because no one has a real one to compare it to.
Yep.
So you're looking at it under a jeweler's loop like there's some dots.
Yeah,
I
that one
guess
was
that's a
really-
rosette pattern.
That one was
You know what
really
I bought?
kind of
Oh, hey,
first one.
can we throw some value in there for consumers? Go on Amazon, buy a $30 or $40 lighted magnifying thing. It's not quite like a microscope, but it's better than a jeweler's loop, and it's digital, and there's a light and everything. Get yourself a good piece of equipment. A jeweler's loop is like $10. Why not spend the extra 20? Get something
On that
really
note,
nice.
In addition to that, you should go on Amazon right now. You should buy yourself a good scale, a good gram scale. You should use it to weigh your fat nugs. And you should smoke lots of weed and quit Magic and get really into doing drugs, because that's a better use of your time.
The dispensary weighs your nugs, so if you're growing your own weed already because Jason
I'm
Colorado
just saying-
came through and sent you those marijuana seeds and you started
This is the big reveal. Jason Colorado gave me a dispensary.
Tokery.
Brainstorm Tokery. You heard
dispensary.
your folks. Yeah.
Is Tokery
You
or
heard your first
dispensary
folks.
better? I just want to go green with this podcast, baby.
I want to be environmentally friendly. I want to go green.
I went to Michigan State. Go green. I pointed to my flag.
You know, our
I
color
went
card,
to
YouTube. You're not on YouTube.
community
You
college.
suck.
our first podcast shirt was green. Remember? However, our colors do seem to be blue and pink. So kind of a little not fitting into the Michigan State vibe, sorry.
Interesting. They were going with blue and pink for this podcast, huh?
That's what, right? The brainstorm, it's generally
We
know,
got boys and goyles on this podcast.
All right, let's hit the next part of this because there's more to dive into, and let's start talking about some of the actual financial and real world repercussions. Because right now, it's really easy to just kind of think of it as sort of a Magic Rules Committee drama type decision that doesn't matter. But the damage, if you want to look at it that way,
But
that's
it's
been
actually
done
a
is-
Magic Rules Committee decision that does matter.
Yeah, like we're talking literally millions of dollars coming out of the pockets of players who pay money to go to tournaments, players who pay money to LGSs for those cards, players who buy boxes or $100 booster packs to try. All of this money is coming out of those people's pockets. It's coming out of your LGS's pockets. It's coming out of the vendors who run CDH tournaments. It's running out of the LGS. It just puts on Commander Night. Like, that's who's getting hurt here. Wizards is just not even, doesn't even enter into the equation. It's just literally the community has decided that the community needs to lose a bunch of money because Rule Zero, the thing we said we were all like, the thing they've said for forever, that this is the philosophy, is no longer the philosophy apparently, but we wouldn't know. Anyway, so let's talk about.
I think if you put a gun to my head and said which two cards would suffer the most from an EDH only ban, I would be like, I would pick two cards that aren't insulated at all by the reserve list, aren't legal in other formats, and therefore don't have any backup demand. I would pick cards that are like literally reference Commander, the way Jeweled Lotus does, because you can't play Jeweled Lotus anywhere else because you don't have Commander. So what they did, they
Jeweled Lotus is playable in Legacy with doubling cube. Technically, it makes you can double that mana and make normal mana from it. I would like the record to state that I am very smart and technically correct.
Well, this is how I'm finding out about that. That rips, and I hope Jeweled Lotus stays at $1 as a result.
That does rip, yeah.
I hope Legacy keeps it from being a actual coaster. But they changed a $100 bill into a $0 bill for a lot of people, and even if you only had one, everybody turning a 100 into a 0 overnight hurts a lot of people and hurts stores the most. Yep. The people that you hurt the most by hiring somebody from Amazon as your CEO for a couple of years. Everybody's sad now.
What did someone
I
want to
got
say
nothing to add
about?
to that because it was just right. You're just correct.
Here's my pick of the week: Flesh and Blood cards.
So breaking down how this is going to start to disseminate throughout the real world and affect people, one of those people would be the artists who did some of these iconic cards.
Yeah, so Elena, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Daner is the artist for Jeweled Lotus. She has very recently become one of the most iconic Magic artists. Her lines are incredibly long at these Magic cons. She has a very, very gorgeous rainbow signature that takes her like upwards of close to an hour to do, that she will charge a appropriate amount of money for. And she posted this thread online about how gutted she is and how blindsided she was by this announcement, and how she has thousands of stories from players telling her that it is one of their favorite cards. They love the artwork. And of course it has hundreds of replies with people posting their signed versions of it. Mm-hmm. And like, she definitely has arguably the most financial stake with this card out of anybody, even just over like a very long-term period, ignoring like if one vendor just has a one row of them or whatever, like sure, that's like 100K or something maybe, but like her stake in this card over the next several years of event signings and like prints and just everything, with this being a part of her brand identity, is like just a shot to the gut from her career perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to say that like the damage done to her from this enters six figures very easily over the course of her career is shooting low. Like, I don't think it breaks seven figures because I don't think anything in this industry does realistically, but like...
And all she did was a hot an art piece.
It's a
for
gorgeous
card
piece.
game. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I like about that card, which is like when it was first printed, I was like, I can't believe this. And I was like, oh, I actually don't care. Because if you play this after turn 3, who gives a hot about this card? So, like, I didn't even care. So, like, the fact that a lot of people liked it and, like, faster formats make use of it and faster format, this card took care of itself. I really thought Jeweled Lotus took care of itself because it just ended up at the tables where everybody had a Jeweled Lotus.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's my experience, but guess what? The RC's experience is their experience, and they're using it to legislate what an entire worldwide format does.
I just want to touch on one thing. Like, I think the tonal thing that I'm feeling from the community and myself is the lack of accountability on every level. Yeah. When WotC bans something, they are taking accountability for it.
Yeah.
When the RC bans something that has a massive ripple effect like this, there's no real accountability. Like, you can't, what am I going to do? Like, the RC are just human beings. A corporation is someone I can be mad at. Human beings are just people doing their best.
Hey, corporations are people too, my friend. Corporations are people too.
It is.
Sorry. That's a quote from a guy who was a little bit more left-wing than our current president, but, you know, had some good ideas. Mitt Romney.
Sometimes you gotta laugh because otherwise you'd cry.
He said, let Detroit go bankrupt. And I was like, yeah, I want Mad Max in Michigan. I want people with cars, and the only currency is gasoline and bullets. And that's current Detroit. It happened.
The other group that is obviously very affected is going to be vendors. Of course, not just your LGS, which is going to be hugely affected, but hey, maybe your LGS only had 5 in stock, maybe whatever, right? But
that's
also
still
think
a
about,
lot.
I agree. But
also, the effect is far beyond just these cards.
Right, exactly. So now, but let's move on and talk about the vendors, like the bigger vendors, the people who show up at MagicCons, the people who you typically buy from online that power sell things that really kind of like help push prices down. They all lost.
The people who take all the
well.
risk.
Yes.
So that you don't have to buy every card you think you might eventually want.
Tens of thousands of dollars were lost by individual stores on this day alone, just in cards that are now unsellable in their inventory. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's the first line of damage. So I think it's just important to put that into perspective that we're talking about people losing 20 or 30 or more or $10,000 this weekend. Right.
And it is so easy to be a player who doesn't or can't afford these cards and like think that person you are describing, Corbin, is the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
Like, well, good for them. They lost $10,000 and they can still eat tomorrow. Like, oh, right. Boo hoo for that person. I shouldn't. But like,
what about the guy with $400 worth of cards and 100 of it used to be Jeweled Lotus, which is now not just worth less but worthless because there's no format where it's playable because of what's written on the card.
I really think that this. While I think this thing we're talking about is like, it sounds impactful, this is really nothing. Like, a vendor losing $10,000, $20,000 is nothing because that vendor is going to lose so much more money over the next 10 years because no one's going to go up to their booth and buy. Like, what's another expensive commander card? What's another $100 non-reserve list commander card?
Smothering Tithe, anime Smothering Tithe.
Who's going to buy an anime Smothering Tithe from a vendor at a MagicCon now?
When Smothering Tithe is 1,000 times more annoying than Mana Crypt ever was.
Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, like, this not only deleted millions of dollars of value today, but it's also just going to cause...
It put a cap,
It's the industry's going to grind... It's going to slow down because people who would previously have spent $1,000, $2,000 on a commander deck are just going to proxy it.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
really killing
maybe they're right to do so.
Yeah, it's destroying your... Like, we talk about them hunting whales and all this stuff, and it's like most of the time we're like, oh, it's fine. Like, if you tell me something's like Magic 30 or whatever, like people complained about that. And to me, it was, you know, throwing out the reserve list, reprinting, whatever, all of that stuff, right? Like, just the people, the price point, the people it was for, that's fine, man. Whales are going to whale. They know what they're buying. They know what they're getting. It's really the betrayal of trust because you thought you knew what you were getting when Wizards put Jeweled Lotus on the side of the box, and it fit the same philosophy that the format had had since the literal day the format was created.
And that was how they sold boxes of that set, because most Commander Legends rares are bulk
That
rares.
set was very bad.
Yes.
So okay, so like DJ mentioned, it is easy to look at those vendors and say, oh, they lost money and they're going to lose money, but as Cass mentioned, it trickles down. The person who wants to go up to the booth and buy their cards, well, that might be you. And now their cards cost more because they don't have a whale subsidizing the $1,000 purchase on the weekend. And maybe they're just not there. Like all kinds of stuff knocks down because consumer confidence matters, which is why the reserved list was created in the first place. And the reaction you're seeing today is why the reserved list was created, right? Like imagine this, but imagine it not just being Commander, a big part of Magic, but like all of Magic. And you have what we witnessed in Chronicles, just people, I want to proxy everything because my cards are worthless now. Like that's literally what happened. That's how we got the reserved list.
This is purely anecdotal, but to me, this is like emblematic of a lot of things, which is exactly what you're not supposed to view anecdotal things as, but bear with me here. I have a friend who is the kind of person who, when the Minsk and Boo secret layer bonus card was like revealed to exist, they hunted one down immediately because they own every Planeswalker. This person owns a Pro Tour foil promo Jason the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah.
Oh.
This person has foiled out Commander decks, and like this is their last straw for real.
Yeah.
Like they are actively trying to sell their collection, and that to me, the kind of person who's played Commander for over a decade, still loved it. Just like what is the point of these decisions when what you're actually doing is alienating the people who love the format the most? There's also the question of Commander is no longer the appropriate on-ramp to Magic, and more so as you alienate the most entrenched players. But it was, Jason. They treated it like that.
It was what we used, but it wasn't suitable.
It was
and
never
Wizards
good.
really wish people would stop, and Commander really wish people would stop. But like it,
what else are you supposed to do? Jumpstart? Like the answer is Foundations.
When we started this
started
this podcast, I told people Duel of the Planeswalkers on the PlayStation 3.
True, it was good. It was great.
And for a while there, Arena was supposed to be the thing, but the predatory economy, the inaccessible platform, just everything about it was terrible. But the actual answer is Foundations. Like this. Yeah. Some vendors I know have talked about how, like, is this the first step in revitalizing store standard?
Hope so.
Honestly,
well, they want it to be. That's the point.
Jumpstart was one of the best products they've ever made. And I will never stop saying that Jumpstart was genius.
Yeah, the thing is, those are great ways to teach people to play Magic, and frankly, that probably should be the first 20 minutes someone plays of Magic or whatever. Yeah. But the reality is that Commander is the on-ramp because people want to play with their friends, and it's a low stakes.
And their friends are playing Commander.
It's not a 1v1. Well, it's you get to play with more friends.
It's a board game.
It's a board game.
Like, we know
a bad
this.
board game.
So but like we know this is what it is. That's why it's the on-ramp to Magic. That's what they've discovered is that people they finally figured out how to capture the board game crowd, and it's Commander, right? So it is going to be the on-ramp, right?
You know what's wild about that? They said of any game, Magic has the most words in their comprehensive rules out of any game. Like people playing Twilight Imperium are looking at the Magic comprehensive rules like that.
Huh. The thing about Commander as a board game argument is just like, it's not a good board game. It's a good card game, but as far as board game experiences go, it's like pretty bad for being social, all things considered.
It's
the
like
Magic the Gathering Clue game.
It's like playing
Rips.
Maybe like 4-player Dominion or something, right? Like you're kind of interacting with each other, but you're also just kind of doing your own thing, and you're having a beer and hanging out, right? It's not about whether that's a good way to teach someone to play Magic.
It's literally
about whether
someone doesn't realize you've been snagging gardens the whole game. Yeah, it's the same shit.
It's not about whether it's a good way to teach someone to play Magic, it's about whether or not they want to play Magic.
It's the format they want to play. Yeah.
It's so like that. It is what it is. So we're just always going to have Commander as the intro product, and this sort of thing doesn't matter to most Commander. Like in that sense, it doesn't matter.
I don't think that's relevant.
If Post Malone, can you imagine if Post Malone was really into Brawl? Can you imagine how different all of our lives would be?
Corbin, I think your statement of this is just always going to be the on-ramp product, the intro product, is just patently wrong. Like it can't be. Like Magic is struggling to acquire players who aren't jumping on from Universes Beyond. Like someone comes into my store and they say, "How do I get into Magic?" And I say, "Here, buy this $50, 100 unique cards, 400 mechanics you don't know.
Yeah.
They get spooked and they go away. I just try and sell them 2 Jumpstart packs and hope they enjoy themselves.
Look, I agree, but how many people come into the store and say, I just want to learn to play Magic and there's no one to help me, versus, hey, my friends are all playing Commander, I need a Commander deck, right? Like, one of those is just a lot more.
No, it's not. Anecdotally, at the very least. Like, the kind of people who want to play Magic, like, they've heard about Magic because someone on Dropout mentions Magic the Gathering. Or, like...
Sure.
So one of the Olympians was talking about card games and like, Magic sounded kind of cool. I looked it up and it's a card game. Like, how do I play? I think more and more we are seeing Magic bleed into the mainstream. And people are going to discover Magic not because they saw a YouTube video with an actor they liked, but instead they just heard someone mention it and they looked it up.
I'm ready to
I
be
agree with
Charlie.
that, yeah.
I'm ready to be Charlie Brown footballed by the Netflix animated show that was just announced.
Yeah,
Listen,
you're right
they
about
can
this.
they can pull that shit all they want, because every time they say something that keeps me interested, I'm like, Russo brothers and Brandon Routh, I am fully in.
Well, they're fully out.
Yeah, but that's
No,
fine.
Cash, you're
Russo
right.
brothers they're good. Somebody wrote a script and we shot it, sort of directors.
Sure.
They would have
Yeah,
been fun.
so Cass, I
The
think
writing's got to be good.
you're right about like that in a general sense, Cass, but like those people are coming into the store because the other people just bought a Commander deck and are playing at home with their friends, right?
Right.
Who are teaching them how to play. So, like we just like factually Wizards expanded massive, like, I don't know, like multiplied itself as a company and as a business after Commander blew up. So like, I just don't see how you can play with your friends in a 4-player type of way. Like they've been chasing that literally forever with things like Arch Enemy, which they just redid, and Plane Chase, and all of these ways to get people to turn it into a group thing as opposed to a one-on-one, I beat you, you beat me competitive endeavor, right? And Commander cracked the code, and I don't know how they ever uncrack it. Now, I think you're like people, the next step of that is that people do want to go somewhere. They want to progress in the game and do something meaningful. And that's why CDH has blown up. Now, can Wizards give them a reason to direct those people to Standard, like you mentioned, Foundations? That's what, the play team at Wizards is trying to do with all the offerings at Magic Cons and the Magic Spotlights. Like they're trying to get people to play some of these other formats that are not.
Let me
just
ask you a
Commander.
question.
Yeah.
Let's say you've never played a board game before, but you wanted to get into board games. And you said, my friends all play Twilight Imperium. How do I play Twilight Imperium? You're going to have the worst time of your life. We need Settlers of Catan so that we can make Twilight Imperium be something people ever want to touch.
For sure.
And Commander is Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
Even precons have just like so many complicated and unique cards. I don't disagree with you that Commander is the format that the average Magic player is going to want to play, but they don't know that. They don't know that they like Magic until then.
Yeah, you're right.
We need something on the Duels of the Planeswalkers or store-level Standard, store-level precons. Just like something, like Bloomburrow starter decks sold out for us instantly. We restocked, they sold out again instantly.
Yeah.
People want to play Magic, but the idea of buying a $60 product that is just 100 cards they have to learn, they have to find 3 friends to play with, it is daunting. Commander is fundamentally flawed as a way for someone who's got their toe into Magic, but not their foot.
Yeah, it doesn't look. It
Commander's
obviously
like
doesn't
the
fit
third
everybody.
step on the
right?
train.
Yeah, it's what you should graduate to. FNM should be between like Jumpstart and Commander for sure.
Well, it just depends if you have a friend group who plays Commander, obviously, and they can whatever. Like that obviously consists of a big group of people, and that's great. That doesn't mean that other people are not being left behind if they focus exclusively on Commander, right? Like you're saying. So like Foundations, we think is probably a good step in towards revitalizing, hopefully, both interest in Standard, giving people, I think they really looked at what, talking about consumer confidence, they wanted people to be able to play their cards for longer, and they wanted people to have the Foundation set that gave some baseline effects. Some might call it a core set concept. But so I think that, everything with the Commanders goes on, but I do think that you're right that the Foundations and the steps they're making in stores are sort of an acknowledgement that Commander does miss a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's the point I'm trying to make.
You don't address that by making Commander worse.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a bit different than what happened today.
We kind of got off on a tangent there. I think that
Yeah, well, it all kind of matters, right? Because it's about what consumer confidence means for stores, and that's what it's
That's
a
why we wanted
25-year-old
you and
conversation.
DJ to come on specifically and address, because like I'm not seeing.
I'm not wearing a dress on the podcast. I'm sorry.
You can kind of address how people are feeling, because I've kind of seen that you got
Fucking
better than you deserve.
Tough craft. Jesus.
I liked that one, Cass. That was good.
Do we want to do a break in bulk or a pick of the week, or talk about how we're sad?
I feel like the last thing to talk about is like what's actionable for people that like.
Yeah. So what
Sell
do we?
your cards to me.
What should we say that isn't sell your cards or proxy your cards?
Sell
or,
your fucking collection to
Here's my
Jason.
action item.
Yeah.
Invest all of your time in a time machine. Go back to right before you discovered magic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Find that younger version of yourself and say, hey, you're going to spend the next 23 years of your life wasting time playing a game and learning a skill set that is worthless.
Mm.
You're going to resent every minute of it. And someday, far into the future, you're going to wonder where it all went wrong. And it's the day that you learn magic is where it all went wrong.
Well,
on the other
someday
hand, card games make your dreams come true.
I'm going to grab myself and be like, hey, you're going to spend 4 years and $50,000 learning how to do something that most people don't believe you when you tell them. And you're going to torture animals for about half a decade, and then you're going to like go do your dream job. So magic is good, and what everybody at your school and your house and everybody who's advised you in your career and any teacher you've ever had, they're all wrong. Follow your dreams.
Good advice. Good advice. I think I would probably find Richard Garfield and tell him I thought Robo Rally was really great and you should pursue that.
Well,
DJ, what would you do with the time machine?
Kill Hitler. You assholes really wouldn't kill. You'd go bother Richard Garfield instead of killing Hitler.
Well, what would DJ do?
I can take multiple trips.
No, you can't.
What do you mean? No, you can't.
No, you can't. So
It's
You don't know the
it's
capabilities
the-
of my time machine, you
It's
fuck.
like the time machine in Back to the Future 3. One shot.
the DeLorean.
No, it's a train, dumbass. Pushing a DeLorean.
Oh, Back to the Future 3. I didn't hear what you said because you're cutting.
I want to see the timeline that Yu-Gi-Oh! DJ goes down. I want to see the Seto Kaiba endgame, like flying a jetpack made of.
A
DJ,
jetpack? You're in
if you
jail
had-
for pedophilia. What are you talking
No,
about?
he's a YouTube pickup artist guy. That's what he ends up doing.
Yeah,
Because of the pipeline.
that seems
Hey,
accurate.
baby,
You got
let
a
me
little
go
bit
up
of
on
incel
you.
in you. A little bit of incel in your soul.
I can see it. But like a successful YouTube pick artist.
Yeah, I mean, like you're like
On
the
the
Alex
YouTube side of
Jones
things,
of
not on-
incels.
On the YouTube side of things, not on the pickup side of things. The successful on the YouTube
DJ.
side of things.
You are fully the Alex Jones of incels in that universe.
Yeah,
Is that me?
that was my D&D
Am I-
character for a while.
Am I Joe Rogan in that universe?
Yes.
My D&D character.
I'm not a very good stand-up comedian. I'm not very smart. I feel like I could be Joe Rogan.
See, I don't know where we go from here, magic wise. I mean, like you guys with your time machine, whatever. But like, I saw this announcement. I stared at it for a half hour. I
thought it was fucking fake.
I did too. I spent all day just in Discord and on chats and just in group chats, just talking and thinking, and got no other work done. I mean, I got all these great encrypted commands to sell now. Didn't make any progress on that. But like, I don't know where we go from here. There's no putting back in the Pandora's box. There's no change.
There's no roadmap.
There's no change.org petition that gets them to unban.
You know what would make this
cards
better?
and...
If Wizards immediately said, hey, we don't know who these RC people are. We've never heard of them. We're the only ones that can make official Commander format bans, so we don't know what their little post was about today. But don't worry about it. The card that we made to sell our set, that was about $100, and everyone seemed pretty happy with that. Yeah, that's still $100. We don't know what these weirdos did.
That would be ideal.
Would love that.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Wizards will continue to come out with weird promo expensive bull, and I don't know if Commander players will buy it now. I don't know if Standard will be the the dark horse to revitalize what Commander players have lost today? I don't know. I spent half this podcast trying to brainstorm actionables and like, okay, tell people what to do, tell people like whether to buy, sell, hodl, like what lines they can take for like other cards or like other mana rocks to buy, like, oh, do you buy Grim Monolith or Ancient Tomb? But like, I
know which lines they should take. They should start doing cocaine.
Yeah, it really. But here's the reason DJ. The reason DJ is like, I don't know where things go from here is because they didn't give us any indication. The communication was non-existent. Maybe the RC.
We found out the same time you did.
Well, sure, but the RC, like, there should have been a full court press today. There should have been an announcement. There should have been a Reddit AMA with the RC. There should have been a stream with the RC.
They should have warned content websites so they had articles ready to go.
All of the above, because if you're rebranding it, if you're going to be banning the fast mana, you're rechanging the philosophy. It's Commander 2.0. You should have gone full court press, and I bet you could have updated the original ban list, taking Coalition Victory off of it, type things. You could have really done a lot here that I think you could have got some buy-in for. Instead, you in the elevator, or what is it? You fart in the elevator and walk out, right?
Well, if you in the elevator, it's much worse, and it has the same effect.
Yeah, but everyone would probably know if you in the elevator.
yeah,
I got made fun of for iron breeds iron, and this dude's talking about an elevator?
I guess, yeah, but it's not as anonymous if in the elevator, right? Farting's anonymous, that's the idea. But the point, you know what the point is.
You're there with your pants around your ankles like, that was you.
I mean, the analogy is not completely wrong here. Like, the rules committee did do that, and then they
kind of did shit in the elevator, and we're like, we know this was you.
Yeah, and they put their heel into it and ground it into the carpet, and it's there forever.
And then he signed
eye
Toby
contact with the
Elliott
security
in the
camera.
In some nation, we don't care for what happened today.
What?
We're calling it Black Monday.
Oh,
I know, because I was like, I stopped writing finance articles. I got out of finance. I sold my whole collection except for the stuff I have in decks. So, like, I feel like a dude who retired from being a stockbroker, like, a month before Black Thursday, and I'm just watching all of my coworkers just jump off of buildings.
There's the sticker.
Yeah. I just absolutely love the people when you say something about it publicly, the number of people who instinctively are like, why didn't you just proxy? Why'd you spend $80 on a dockside, you idiot? And it's just like,
listen, anybody who proxies can eat my fucking asshole. And that includes people who are talking about proxying today and never did before.
Yeah, but like, just so we're clear, nobody on this podcast is going to be mad because we personally lost like $100, right? Like, we are ingrained in, we're entrenched enough in Magic. That is not where our criticism is coming from.
DJ has my jeweled lotuses in his collection.
Got him, Jason.
He lost both of our money today.
All right. Well, I don't know unless someone has something else to add. I think that probably wraps it on this special episode of Brainstorm Brewery, where we discuss whatever
we
that
reacted.
Was. Yeah, Yeah. So thank you for listening. Thanks for sticking with us. We're clearly processing this just like all of you. Hopefully you're listening to this early. We're able to get it out. And of course, if you did listen, we appreciate you checking out our sponsors, MTGstocks and Coalesce Apparel and Design, where you can use that gift code Brainstorm Brewery.
They send you a booster pack, and hopefully it won't be a Commander Legends pack. One of the other myriad products that has Mana Crypt
Commander
or
Masters
Lotus in it.
LCI Collector Booster. You open up the fancy Mana Crypt, and you just
doubling cube, baby.
Any closing notes for anybody? I got something real quick.
I
just
think
want to
it's all
say,
you guys.
my gay chungus industry.